But I would tell you that we have a country here that is worth keeping faith in. We have a country that is worth protecting. As a World War II Marine put it once, he said, the country didn't have to be perfect to be worth fighting for. And I bring that up because at times when I was young, I wanted perfection. And if something wasn't perfect, I'd sink my teeth into it like a dog with a bone and keep shaking it around. I'd ignore everything else. And as I got older, I didn't get smarter, but I became more aware that sometimes you'll look at things and you'll focus on the imperfection, and that's good, so you work to correct it. But don't lose sight of the larger whole and just what you have at stake there. I think that as you read more history, if we can study our history and recognize how imperfect this country has been and how it continues to get better every year, and sure, there's been ups and downs, but the overall trajectory has always been one toward a more just, more responsive society. And one of the reasons I spend most of my time now talking with young people on various campuses is to talk to you about why I have that faith. It's not some la-la land faith. It's based on the rigors of our Constitution. It's based on faith in the American electorate. And it certainly is not dismayed by challenges. I've seen a lot of challenges overcome on the battle. What worries me more than anything is the way we're treating one another in this country, the contempt we show for one another just because we sometimes disagree with each other. You know, I think it's very, very important that we learn to listen, to really listen to each other and understand each other's position as well as they understand their position. So we start from a position of dispassionate discussion, even on passionate subjects. So why do I start with that? Because I think it's time for all of us to get together and start talking about generations, about climate change, about debt, about education, and we can do that. We actually have a society that is set up to do that if we'll simply take the time to do it. Why do I feel so positive about this? Again, I was in the infantry, named for infant soldier, young soldier. You cannot go there and see the level of sacrifice. How about seeing young lads, 18, 19 years old, day after day, taking a loose tourniquet and wrapping it around their upper legs and wrapping it and just tight enough that it won't fall off. And that way, if their leg gets blown off on patrol, they're going to snap the tourniquet shut so they don't bleed to death. And they don't do that one time. They do that day after day after day. 18, 19 years old, they believe in this country so much, they're willing to do that. And every step, you know what can happen. And so I would suggest to you that something that has that much optimism from people who are literally putting their lives on the line, people who are signing a blank check to every one of us in this room with their lives, payable with their lives, there is something in there worthwhile. Dig through the history, you'll find the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the bottom line is there's a lot more good in this country, even if we don't talk about it right now. I have absolute faith in the American people. I know the military will hold the line as we come back to fundamental friendliness, respect for one another. And so long as we can have talks where we listen to each other, where we have protesters in, at least for a minute, poor guy, I'll try and find him later on. But at least so long as we can have the kind of open discussions that allow us to work on these problems, I know we can solve them. We're the greatest experiment in the history of the world. And one thing, let me just close with something here, because it does relate to this high school student's question. Walter Lippmann was a graduate of Yale, and in 1940, you'll remember the bombs are raining down on London. Paris has fallen to the Nazi stormtroopers. And he talked to Yale graduates. And he's an alum, and sometimes people in colleges can talk to fellow students, colleagues. Something about the atmosphere, the shared formative experience allows you to say things that are uncomfortable in other circumstances. One of the reasons I love coming to colleges. But here's what Walter Lippmann said. You took the good things for granted. Now you must earn them again. For every right you cherish, you have a duty which you must fulfill. For every hope you entertain, you have a task you must perform. For every good you wish to preserve, you will have to sacrifice your comfort and your ease. There is nothing for nothing any longer. I bring this up because America was sitting on the sidelines as the fascists were on the march. England was holding out alone. France was overcome. The Japanese were on the attack. The Italians were deep into Africa. Everything was going wrong, and we came out of that, and look at the country the greatest generation built. I know I was part of the luckiest generation because I was one of the ones they raised. I'm not sure my generation's doing as good for that high school student as my parents' generation did for me, and it's time we recover that and remember Walter Lippmann's words. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be back here. Thank you.